Today's video is brought to you by my amazing patrons on Patreon. Priority deck requests and extended discussions are just some of the many perks you get for being a patron. Consider supporting the channel today. Welcome back to today's build. Whether you're just looking for upgrades or have no idea how to build this deck, I'll be your guide to this wonderful game we all love. Let's get started. Today's deck is armed to the teeth. Her name is Octavia, living Thesis, and these are her 8 Tickles. Since Octavia's discount doesn't track each individual spell in our graveyard, only whether we get 8 of them, it's all or nothing, and Graveyard Hate will be another target for our interaction. But we'll also want to try to fill the graveyard and play Octavia consecutively. Luckily, as you'll see, that Graveyard Hate can even play into our plans at times. Regardless, by the time she hits the board, we want the setup of evasive creatures for her to target, and that boost is doing the most when their power is as low as possible. Alongside those creatures, and preferably on those creatures, we need ways to put instants and sorceries in the graveyard besides simply casting them. These cards don't help us put cards in the graveyard, don't interact with opponents, don't make evasive bodies, and generally don't contribute to our game plan. They're undeniably powerful, and their status as staples is well earned, but in this deck, we'd be better off filling these slots with these cards. These cards are all so close to being what we're looking for, but the Archmage and Gale have the wrong ideas. Remember that our creatures need to be evasive and help our game plan of getting Octavia down. Invisible Stalker and other such unblockables have the evasion, but they don't help us out with the rest of our game plan in the ways that we need, so we'll be making these changes. While it is important to be able to get our creatures through for damage, these cards belong at the bottom of that pile. In the first place, a large number of our creatures already have evasion, so these already have limited utility. So while I think this is still an effect that we want, we need to do a lot better and in much smaller quantities. And on that note, allow me to introduce Quiet Speculation. For 2 mana, we guarantee that we get 4 instants or sorceries into the graveyard, 2 of which give us the evasion we wanted from those spells. Together with Otherworldly Gaze and Visions of Duplicity, as well as any other flashback synergies we get in the future, not only do we fill the graveyard, but we get access to these cards after we've landed Octavia for extra card advantage to power up our creatures. So what do our lands look like? Well, obviously it's a monocolored deck. We're mostly running basic islands for our lands, but there are a few other lands worth highlighting here. First are Blinkmoth Nexus and Mystic Sanctuary. On a higher budget, you might even throw in Inkmoth Nexus to chip in some poison before landing Octavia for a lethal attack. Second are the New Capenna fetches. Our curve is low enough that we can easily afford to have a land come in tapped occasionally, and the life gain paired with deck thinning gives us advantage, however minor, on filtering our draws. So what's our timeline? On turn 1, we can start filling our yard and deploying flyers to get a head start on our game plan. Turn 2, we get a little more flexibility, but the plan is the same. Fill the graveyard and make evasive bodies. In the background of each of these turns, we can still be filling the yard and making evasive creatures, but we also want to start thinking about how to interact with our opponents now, since our strategy is a little difficult to juggle and might take longer to get online. And for commander removal, we've actually got some really great options to buy us time to land Octavia. Turns 5 and 6 are our targets for our commander. With her discount, we even have enough mana left over to be able to swing an 8/8 and still protect the board. Despite our best efforts, if the board is still out of control, we can take command with these cards to reset board presence. Octavia's buff does an excellent job closing things out on its own, especially when paired with Mists of Lorien or Gigadrows to buff the team and clear out blockers. But if we really wanted to turn Abortive Evasion into lethal without her, Candlekeep Inspiration is my pick for closer. This deck can really swing once it gets online, but the dedication the deck demands from you to play Octavia means that there's very little to offer in terms of backup plans if we lose access to Candlekeep Inspiration, and managing that risk is a difficult battle to fight. Graveyard Hate and board wipes will cripple us in ways that we have to be able to manage or we might never recover. Between that and needing to manage the threats our opponents deploy on top of filling the yard and battlefield with all the pieces necessary for our game plan, I think Octavia will have a hard time playing at higher power tables.
A very special thanks to all my amazing patrons. When I started this channel, I wanted to talk about deck building decisions with my videos, but in practice what ends up happening is that I talk for 30 minutes about all the nuance of a deck, which is longer than I'm comfortable with posting to YouTube. Here, patrons can request priority deck techs, access extended discussions on their favorite decks, in-depth guides on complex game actions, and more.
So if you enjoy this content, consider becoming a patron today. One of the things my patrons have made possible is a special series of deck techs that I'm really excited to show off to you guys. When I finally get them all uploaded, I'll be giving away a special collection of altars and tokens that I've made, corresponding to each deck on the channel. For example, for the Merkle Lord of Bones deck, the prize is a set of double-faced altars of the most prominent cards in the deck, whose backsides are set in the constellation frame with updated text to show that they're acting as enchantments now. For every 1,000 views on each video, I'll increase the prize pool for that deck. All you have to do to be eligible to win is be subscribed to the channel.
Consider supporting the channel today. If you like this video, here are some of the decks I'm working on next, so if you like what you see, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any, and check out the playlist in the top left for more. Thanks for watching!